and today I got my beautiful wife, Natasha D's, on.
Hello.
And we're just going to sit and chat for a little bit, talk about some stuff. We just was out um, shopping at home and went and got some grub from Fridays. But something I did want to ask you just now, how you felt about was, I know you just checked out of school, so I just wanted to know how you felt about that.
I'm happy with my decision because I was struggling with it. Um, you know how I have expressed myself in the past. Me dropping out of school 10 years ago was something that I always kind of felt not embarrassed by, but I felt like a little bit of a failure about. And it was just a promise that I made to myself at some point in life I was going to achieve that goal. And I've made small steps towards it, with my associate's degree. Um, but I think right now, at this point in my life, I just kind of had to assess, what am I doing this for? And that's not to say that I'm never going to go back to school to get my bachelor's degree. But I think before when I went to school, my reason for doing it is different than it was this time.
Okay.
Am I talking too much?
No.
Oh. This time it was more so thinking of career advancement, and it was thinking like before when I got my degree, that helped me get to the point where I am. I have a successful career in the health insurance industry, and I'm doing well for myself, for us. And even though it's just an associate's degree, but that along with my experience has helped me get to this point. And so my thinking in getting my bachelor's degree, I was thinking more so in the future, like, where else would I want to go? And it was almost, I was thinking of hypotheticals. Like, what if I want to do this and I need my degree to have that? Let me make sure I have it now so that in the future I'm not disappointed. And then I really had to think, not to say I'm good, I don't want to move forward, but I am good in my career. And I really had to assess, what else is it that I could possibly want to do that I feel like my degree would help me to do. We know I've been in management, and management of people, and I absolutely don't want to do that ever again. So like a manager role, if it's involving me being responsible for people, I'm not interested. So long story short, that kind of like tied into my decision making, and I was really struggling with it. Like I felt like I was letting myself down again, but in reality, I think, no, I've done well. Like, yeah, I've never succeeded in getting my degree, and not to say I never ever will, but at this time in our life, it would be more of a burden than I don't think I would take that joy in achieving that goal, and could very possibly not do well at achieving it. So I just feel like, set my pride aside, and my, thoughts of me being a failure aside, and think realistically about what fits into my life, what fits into our life, and school just isn't it right now.
So you would say it's not necessarily mental space, it's more life space. Like
Both.
the reality of your days and what goes on in your life from day to day.
Both. I think mental space plays a part into life space, and our lives take up. We know my job is mentally. I won't say mentally draining, but it takes up a
You
lot
spend
of
a
my
lot
mental.
of time on the computer.
Yeah, a lot of time on the computer. It takes up. I'm not on my feet all day like you, but my brain is working triple time sometimes, and we know I work 10, sometimes 11-hour days. So that's a lot of mental space there. Just us having a healthy relationship, going through not just trials and tribulations, even in good times, that's mental space there. you know, our kids, you know, our sisters, just life itself takes up mental space. Having a relationship with God, you know, having friends, all of that takes up mental space. And yeah, while school is important, it's not the most important thing for me that I want to devote any of my mental space to right now. Like yeah, exactly. And I know that that is a big commitment that I can't just kind of like do off to the side a couple hours a day. Like, and I mean, my degree is going to be in business management with a concentration in organizational psychology. That's big. That's a lot of mental space that will be needed, and investing that time, it will diminish life space. And I'm just not, that's not a sacrifice that I want to make right now. Right now, my primary focus is us, the things that we want to do, um, us and God. Like, that's my primary focus right now. And then we know it's a lot going on with, you know, the society and just the world as it is, as far as the pandemic and how that impacts our kids in school. And I don't know in what capacity I may have to assist in that. I mean, school is just not a mental space, or I just don't want to dedicate any of my mental space to that right now. Even if nothing else takes up that space, it's okay to have some free mental space also. Like,
right.
I don't need
So
all my bandwidth
disposable
to be
downtime.
exactly.
Why does it seem like people who try to achieve degrees, it seems like it's not like a thing, a tool that you might need for life, or something that you're trying to accomplish and obtain because you need it for life, like a wrench in a toolbox, but more like a self-worth thing. Like, why does a degree to some people self-worth?
You know, that's a good question, and I don't know if it's self-worth, but you know what, somebody explained to me, and it makes sense hearing it in hindsight. Most of the time, when a job wants you to have a degree for a job, they're not looking at your transcript. They really don't even care what school you went to. You just have to have a degree. Now, you could have got your degree with a C minus in every single class, and your GPA be a 2.0. You still have that degree. And what was explained to me is that getting a degree more so shows your character than your intelligence.
Because it shows the discipline that you had.
Exactly. So it shows the discipline, it shows that you committed that time, it shows that you followed through and you completed that goal.
So universities are charging $140,000 for discipline?
For somebody to show their character. Like, let me learn how to knit you a blanket and show you how committed I am, if that's the case. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying universities look at it like that, because some
take care of a baby doll all year.
Exactly. I mean, or be a parent. Like, how much, I mean, good or bad parent is subjective, but look how much discipline and commitment that requires. And I think too, that was a part of my challenge in making a decision. It's not like I'm quitting school. Don't know when my plan is to like really get back, but I know it's not going to be in October, which is the next semester, and I really ain't sure it's going to be in January, which is the following semester. But long story short, that was part of my, I don't want to say hesitation, but me rationalizing, like, should I, shouldn't I? Because when my manager was the one that said that to me, and not necessarily talking about me, but just talking in general about having a degree, and somebody told her, like, it shows your character. And she knew I was starting school, and not that I have to tell her, like, I'm not in school, it's not a requirement, but it just made me think, like, damn, what does that say about my character? But I also had to think, I think it says a lot about my character that I'm doing something not to please others, but I know it doesn't fit for me. So I think it would be more, it would show less, or I would say
you're trying to put a square into a round hole because it just doesn't fit right now.
Yeah, and I think that would be a more negative reflection on my character for me to say, oh, I'm doing this to please other people, than I'm doing what makes sense for me. Like, that's a part of self-care, not overwhelming myself and overburdening myself with something because of what I think other people are going to say. I have my job, and again, it's a good job. We do well with it, and I'm not in the need to jump any levels right now with having a degree to help me do that. So I think that's to answer your question. I think that's why people, it's not like, in some capacities, if you want to be an accountant, yeah, you have to have a degree as an accountant. Or if you want to be a psychologist, you have to go to school for psychology. But sometimes some positions it might just say master's degree required, bachelor's degree required. It may not even be in any particular concentration or any particular field. They just want to see that you've made that dedication to life to get a degree.
Mm. That's cool. All right, let's shift gears a little bit. I mean, we both got decent careers. What I do, I'm at the top of my game, and you make great money at the top of your game. And we've been married to each other for 20 years, coming up October 26th this year.
No,
20 years.
This year is 19, bro.
19, I'm sorry, 19, everybody. Next year will be 20. But what do you think about marriage?
Ooh.
Like, just that question just laying out there like a bad pierogi. Like, what do you think about marriage?
A bad pierogi is there a such thing as a good pierogi?
Not if it sit too long.
But it's just a potato pocket. Is any pierogi good? But I get you. What do I think about marriage? I think this could go in a lot of directions, but...
Oh, no, what? Hold on. Let me rephrase it. What do you think about black marriage? That's a more refined, zeroed in question, isolated question. That's what I was looking for. So what do you think about black marriage?
As a whole, I can say black successful marriages are a beautiful thing. But I think that we have been conditioned to look at longevity in marriage as the measurement of a successful marriage. And I say that because we both know, we know of people, whether it's our grandparents or maybe we don't know them personally, but we know of people, we've seen couples been married, or maybe heard of, because I don't know that many, but been married 30, 40, 50, 60 years.
But they hate each other.
They hate each other, or you're like, yeah, my grandma been married for 50 years to my grandpa, but when you out to the outside world, or in social media, when you post them, happy anniversary to my grandparents who married 50 years, oh, it looks beautiful. But to the family who there, they don't even speak to each other, or, grandma curse Pop out every day, or they sleep in different rooms, or Papa, Lord knows I'm not saying this about my family, but Papa got a family on the side, but they're still married. And I remember when Mom went through her separation, and it took so long for her to finally make that decision. And I remember her saying she was always taught that when you get married, you stay married. And that's poisonous. That's a poisonous and that's a toxic mindset to teach people, because, okay, biblically speaking, yeah, divorce shouldn't be an option, blah, blah, blah. I'm all with that. But some marriages should have never happened. So I think having that mindset to say, okay, once you marry, you stay married, it's one of those poisonous generational mindsets that people have been conditioned, and people as in the black community, since you say black marriage, have been conditioned to think. And I don't think that, I think while it's great to think, if you're married and you're in a good, loving marriage, you're not in an abusive marriage, you're in emotionally stable marriage, you're in a motivating, uplifting, loving, encouraging marriage with maybe not too spiritual, with some spirituality in it, then yes, divorce should not be an option unless any of those things like go wrong, somebody getting beat, somebody getting cheated on, the horrible things.
Not to cut you off, but that's what I think they meant when they said that when you get married, you should stay married. I think like they're not talking about the marriages that never should have happened in the first place. It's the loving marriages that when you get married and they know shit gets rough or people make mistakes, like you should be focused enough to fight through those things. I think that's what those older generation people were saying. Like your mom would say, if you're not gonna leave them, you know that immediately. If you're not gonna leave them, then start forgiving them. So it's more like if I'm in a loving marriage, then I'm not gonna just throw out 10, 20 years. Like I'm gonna fight for it. But if I'm in a marriage that never should have happened, where this dude's kicking my ass and shit like that, then I should be gone.
But I hear what you're saying, and while that sounds good, I don't know if I can agree that that's what that older generation meant. Because, if you think about it, again, and not that I know anybody personally, but, we've heard the stories about Pop having, Pop and Grandma being married for 45 years, but Pop, he got a junior here, but he got a junior across town with Miss Mary. You know what I mean? Or Pop, but Grandma ain't never leaving Pop because of that mindset that you get married, you stay married.
Right.
Or Pop and I'll be a little transparent here, like I know I love my Pop to death. He is a great man now, and even before my grandma passed away, but he went through years with alcoholism. And whatever the struggles were that they faced during that time. In today's generation, I don't know if a lot of women would deal with that. And I'm happy that my grandma did, because he got better. But to her, leaving him was probably never a thought. Now, I don't want to say that's one of those marriages that should have never happened. But again, you have people who are getting beat, who husbands have other kids, who husbands just maybe doing all kinds of things that put them in danger, and they would never think to leave them. One, because they're worried about what it's going to look like to the outside world. They're worried about looking like a failure in their marriage. So, back to your original question, black marriage is a beautiful thing when it's healthy, when it is inspiring, not even for other people to, even if it's just in your household, you're inspiring to each other. Who cares what the world thinks? If it's healthy, I just keep thinking, because healthy is such a wide range of things that can be healthy. Mentally healthy, physically healthy, financially
healthy across the board.
Yeah, emotionally healthy. That it's good for you, not just good to you. So I think but also I think it's so
the other
cliche.
person has to make you better.
Yeah, I think it's a little cliche, because people always think like that's the ultimate goal, to get married. The ultimate goal is not just to get married, it's to be healthy, not just happily married, because happy is fleeting. You're not going to be happy every day in marriage. You're not going to be happy every day as a human.
If you're single.
Exactly. So being happily married, I don't think is most important as being healthily married. So while so many people think, oh, that's the goal to get married, no, the goal is to be healthily married and stay healthily married. So I think.
So is the goal to stay married? You can't just say stay married. You have to say stay healthily married.
Yes, because your health shouldn't be compromised. And again, whether it's your physical health, emotional health, spiritual health, your health shouldn't be compromised, for the sake of someone else. Now, that doesn't mean leave as soon. Like, you should work at it. You should work at fixing it. But both parties have to be in agreement and want to work at it. So stay not just stay married, because you can be healthily married and the health part of it falls apart, and then you just stay married. No. And again, I don't want to focus on being happily married, because happy is fleeting. You're not going to be happy every day. As you can be in a marriage and nothing is wrong with your marriage, but you as a person might not be happy. You may go through things. Guess what? I got this mask in here. You may go through things, your own personal internal stuff that may not allow you to be happy at that moment, your spouse being understanding would know that, so your marriage would be emotionally healthy to support you through that. But so that's why I think the bigger goal is being healthily married, and not yes, you want to be happy as often as possible, but you shouldn't think the moment that you're not happy that, oh, it's over.
Right. Now, being married can be overwhelming, and overwhelming does two things to me. It makes me feel like um, I am doing something wrong within what I'm doing, or I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing altogether. How does overwhelmment make you feel?
That's a good question, because sometimes I think being overwhelmed makes me feel like I'm being weak. Like, why are you letting this overwhelm you? Like, man up. You can handle it. Like, don't feel defeated or overwhelmed. And then,
I think that's PTSD for you though, as a black woman. Like you probably conditioned to think to um, being overwhelmed, whether it be school, whether it be marriage, whether it be work, to think like it's almost thinking like I'm perfect and I should be able to handle this. Like I shouldn't have no no not strong days. I don't want to use the word weak, but not strong
like,
days.
I always gotta wear my cape.
Exactly.
And I won't disagree with you. I won't. That probably is something that we've been conditioned to think. Like, we hang our hat on being a strong black woman. Like, this black girl magic. Like, we always gotta have our black girl magic out. So you're probably right. And thinking about that, that's why I say being overwhelmed it gives me a sense of.
So it doesn't make you feel either of those two things. It makes you feel weak.
Well, it's two sides to it. It can make me feel weak, and then sometimes it makes me feel like, and this might be part of that PTSD as well. Like, I can handle it, just slow down and compartmentalize whatever it is. But well, this is weird to say, because I was gonna say I never feel like giving up on any of it, but I just gave up on school. But that was kind of different, because our life right now is a little bit overwhelming, not overwhelming, but it's like at capacity. So I didn't want to add to that, but normally it doesn't make me feel like forget it. I just don't want to do any of it. It just makes me feel like either one, I'm being weak, or woosah, take a breath and just man up and get it done. So I guess that's
weird
kind
that
of
you
the
say
same.
that doing too much makes you feel weak. I can't relate to that at all. Like I don't know how those two correlate, but that's interesting that you say doing too much, like being overwhelmed, makes you feel weak. Um, all right, you didn't have no idea of what marriage looks like. I didn't have no idea of what marriage looks like, but yet we've been married 19 years this year. How how did you do it? And I say you so you can just speak for yourself. How did you do it?
So while I can speak for myself, you are a part of that. Like, I only did it, I was only able to do it with you, because I feel like a lot of the gaps and deficiencies in a lot of the gaps and deficiencies and voids that I created, you helped me fix. Whether it's through just simple conversation, whether it's through, one of our not so good moments, whether it's through, I mean, it's either one of those, us talking it through, or you showing me, or maybe you saying something and it like triggering something. So while I don't, and I don't know if anybody else would have been able to guide me through this, but I mean, you and God is what helped me. And I will say, I don't, except for, well, I won't say, only Toya do I really talk to about, like, any
Marriage.
relationship things, because, you know, she's my only friend that, well, she's not my only friend that's married, but she's the only person I trust with talking about personal stuff. So it may have been some things where I'm like upset and mad about something, and she like, girl, get over it. Or, okay, you feel this way, say how you feel, and, you know, that's it. I remember, not to bring up old stuff, but that one time we had a little situation and I went to mom's house. Like, that was the only time I ever, you know, didn't sleep here when we were under bad terms. And I went to mom's house, I stayed there, and then in my mind, you know how I think, I start planning stuff, like, stupidly, like, where I'm gonna live, I gotta find an apartment. But I remember that next morning, she was like, okay, what time you going home? Like, she knew the night before, it was what it was, like, we went through it, like, you know, I was mad, I wasn't there, you know, and she was supportive in me just, you know, talking to her. I probably cried to her or whatever, and she was supportive through all of that and listening and this, that, and the other. And the next day, like, I think she texted me and was just like, hey, like, what time you going home today? And that was just kind of like, okay, you were mad, y'all, you know, you went through it, whatever, but get your shit together and, like, go home to your husband. So in those moments too, having a friend like her who would, you know, that kind of helps too, because people think differently. And you always say, I think I'm perfect, but sometimes I do have to, like, take a step back and check myself, and sometimes I can't check myself, so I'll ask her. And that's why it's good to have a friend that's not like a yes man, because I'll be like, am I crazy, or am I tripping to be thinking like this, or, you know, and not to say, like, I talk to her about everything. I mean, those moments are few and far between, but I'll say that's how I've done it, through prayer, through your guidance and helping me fill in those gaps, and on a few occasions having somebody that I can talk to who, you know, can kind of read that or help me look at a situation from a different perspective. um I don't know any other married couples that, like, I can talk to for advice. Like, you know, we love our brother and sister, but I don't, like, we don't have that kind of relationship. But, you know, and I don't really look at anybody else, even though Toya is married and I respect her opinion, I don't look at anybody else's marriage as a model for us, because I know I just don't do that. I don't care if it's Will and Jada. You know, I love Steve Harvey and Marjorie, but not even them. Like, everybody's situation is different. So I don't look at anybody else's marriage and say, oh, I want to do what they did, or because they're doing this, or because, like, I don't do that at all. But, so I did never had another relationship to look at that was like, that's my motivation, that's going to help me be a good wife. I'm still trying to be a good wife, but that's through, you help me be a good wife because I'm a wife to you. So
Right.
you have to let me know, what does that mean to you, being a good wife. Now, of course,
Who taught you that? That I have to validate that.
You
and
did.
You have to validate me being a good husband.
Right, you did.
I just wanted to let y'all know.
So I think that takes part in it too, because you made me lose my train of thought because I started smiling so hard. But yeah, that's all part of it. And I mean, being a good wife, I can only ask you, because being a good wife is subjective. Somebody else, you know, you might think I'm the best wife in the world, and the next man might be like, nah, that ain't gonna cut it for me. Or you might think I'm a horrible wife, and the next man might be like, I'll take her. So I have to, if I want to be your wife, and I want you to be my husband, I have to look to you to say, hey, now, my morals and my ethics and my values, I'm not going to compromise those, but we're together because we have those shared values and morals. So you're not about to ask me to do something that, like, this is going to be a good wife to me if you do this, and I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. But you help me. So even though you say, what have I done, and I can't speak for you, but you have helped me to be what I would call successful in this marriage.
Well, to get 19 years, you gotta be successful. That's successful.
But no, because again, some people stay just to stay, and but again, that's why I say having a successful marriage is subjective, because who cares what the world thinks? You could be in here whooping my ass. You could be in here, you know, having babies on the side. We know you're not doing that. So to us, it's a successful marriage because this is what we want. To somebody else, they may be going through other stuff and they stayed married for 19 years just to say that they're married.
Right.
So to make it, I don't think, that's why I said I don't think longevity is an indicator of having a successful marriage, because you could have just stayed with somebody and been horrible and the time just went on.
That's true. That's true. All right, switching gears a little bit. Family. What's your, you know, like, I know we love our family, and you got 2 sisters that you are inseparable from. But just overall, like, what do you think about family, good and bad?
That is good and bad.
That sums it up.
You know what? Family.
What do you think of, all right, so some people say family is family, and no matter what, they always family. So is there such thing as good family and bad family, or just family?
Some people are just relatives. You're just related to them. They're not family. I don't think, while family is family as far as, you know, you were born into this family and your bloodline dictates family. Not to bring her up again, but I consider Toya more of my family than some real blood family. And it may be people I don't even have beef with, but it's like, yeah, we looked at our family tree, we are a family, but I don't know you, you don't know me. I wouldn't never ask you for anything. I would hope that you wouldn't ask me for anything, and I want all the best for you in life, but we just ain't family. I think I had to learn, and this is something that you, and it was related to something like very, very trivial. It was like going to a party or a family event or something that you told me a long time ago, and it really stuck with me, and I probably never told you this. Like, somebody was having something, and I didn't feel like going, but it was like, oh, because that's family, it was a cousin or something. You like, it's okay to not go. It's okay to say no. Like, this is something that you really don't want to do. Like, what you're doing it just because you feel like you. And
because
I did.
Everybody else was going, and all the other family would be there.
Probably so,
and
but
didn't want them to be like, "Where's Tasha?"
Or I just didn't want to like disappoint this person, I guess. But that really like hit home for me to say like, why are you doing something that you don't want to do? Like, to make somebody else happy. Like, this is something that you really don't want to do. And it's no shade, again, no shade to this person. You don't have no ill feelings. If this was the next day or the next week, or if it was yesterday, you may have wanted to do it. But right now, in this moment, this is not something that you want to do. So why do you feel like you have to do it? And I use that same mental space as it applies to people. Like, you don't have to associate with this person. And we know my history. I don't know if we'll ever talk about that. Probably not, because I don't want to be on here crying. But this is your show, so whatever path
Talk
you
about
go.
what I want.
Yes, but just I use that same mental space, like in dealing with people. Like, I don't feel. No, this is what you said to me. As it's coming on, you're not obligated to do anything. And that's stuck with me. And it also made me think, like, when it comes to people, like, I don't have no obligations to nobody.
So before that, did you think that you did?
I think so, because of that conditioning in, you know, Black America. And I can only say Black America because I don't know how white people think. But, like, oh, family is family. This your cousin. This, that, and the other. And, you know, having to be around certain family members that you didn't want to be around because this is your family. This is what family do. So I think in some ways it felt obligatory to go to an event. Maybe because everybody else was there, or maybe just because, all right, like, it was almost like, if you don't have no beef with this person, why are you not going? And it's like, now I can rationalize it to myself to say, it doesn't mean that I have beef with this person, but that also don't mean that I have to be there. Like, I just don't want to. I'm tired. Maybe I'm not tired. Maybe I just want to be with my husband, or
Right.
maybe I just don't feel like the drive, or I just don't, that maybe it's not in my spirit to feel like, that's the vibe I want for tonight, whatever the reason is. And I really don't have to get an explanation, because I'm not obligated to do anything that I don't want to do. And I feel like, and people may think differently about this, people may think differently about this just because of religious beliefs or maybe even family values. But I think the only person that I'm obligated to is you. And the only reason why I say that is because in being married, you take vows. So you're kind of obligating yourself to that person.
To live up to those vows.
Right. So you and the person that hired, the company that hired me, my employer. But anybody else, like, I love my sisters the way that I do because I want to. But I'm not obligated to do that. Like, I can't imagine life differently, but I'm not obligated to. And the other thing I was going to say too, some people might be like, oh, we're your parents, because the Bible says honor thy mother and father. That's a different story, and I love my mom, but I don't feel like I'm obligated to do anything for her, just because she's my mom. Our kids, I would give I would give my left and right arm, and probably my left and right leg if it was to save their lives. But I'm not obligated to do that. That's my heart and how I feel about them. So when it comes to family, I feel like it has to be people that you love because you want to, without any expectations of anything in return. Like, I'm like, even like you, well, not you because you're my husband, but I'll text people often to say, good morning, I love you, hope you have a good day. Or I might send them a Bible verse or something. The expectation is not that this is going to be a tit for tat. Oh, well, I texted her yesterday, she should text me today. Or the last 3 times I talked to her, I text her, she'll never text me. I don't operate like that, because if I think that I want to say hi to somebody, or I just want to tell somebody I love them, or I want to send them a Bible verse or say, hey, just checking on you, just wanted to say hi, it's because I want to. I'm doing that because I care about them and I don't have any expectations. So I think when it comes to family, it's people that you love without any expectations of anything in return from them. Now, it also should be people that are loyal. Mm-hmm. And loyalty could mean like you would never do nothing shady to me.
Right.
I don't need nothing. Right, exactly. I'm not loyal in the sense, I needed $50 and she wouldn't help me out, or I don't need.
Don't stab me in the back.
Exactly. We may talk once a year. Don't ever do nothing shady to me. So I think that's what. Then you have some family that feel like you are obligated to do things for them, or you are obligated to come places, or if they need $25 and you say no, then you the worst person in the world. Like, I can't ask you for $25. So I mean, family is just a group of people who, relatives are just a group of people who are linked by bloodline. Family is people that you love and you trust, and there's loyalty.
And you care about if they hurt, you care about if they sad, you care about if they happy.
Yes.
You care about their feelings. And not feeling obligated to do stuff for people. Like, I've been with you since you were 19 years old, and you'll be 40 next year.
4 months.
When did you, like, as a woman, feel like I'm grown? Like, in a sense of not like 21 grown, not like I'm doing what I want to do grown, but when did you feel like, even like, because even like you have a sense of people that you grew up and were older than you, so it's like no matter how old they get, they look at you like you a kid or whatever, but mm-hmm. you still a missus, and you still command the respect they did at that age. So at what age did you feel like, okay, like I feel like I'm a grown woman?
It's weird because I could probably say, like, thinking about when we bought this house, I was 27. And it felt like, wow, like I did. And maybe not at that moment, maybe maybe a little bit at that moment, but then maybe like 6 months in or so, like it tripled in. Like I did a grown woman thing. Like I'm a grown ass woman. I own a house. Like, but I guess it's different levels to feeling that, because then I remember turning 30 and feeling like, no, I probably not 30. I have vague memories about 30. I very vividly remember being like 33, and like 33 to 36 was like a period of time for me. And I don't know whether it was because you start getting to that age where you got to make certain decisions that are going to be for the long haul, like whether it's about career, relationship, finances, and you start thinking like, I ain't 25 no more where I can, I can, and we know I've had a few job changes, but they've always have been progressive in my career and for our benefit. But you start realizing you get to a point in life where it's like, the decisions that I'm making have to be for the longevity. So you start thinking differently about those decisions and thinking differently about how you move. So while I feel very grown now, it's almost like a sense of freedom in feeling grown. Like,
So is it a sense of, I mean, it sounds like your explanation is like it's not a nature thing. It's not like a woman wakes up one morning and feels like I'm grown. It's almost like a sense of the things that I've added into my life, the things that I'm doing now, gives me a sense of grown. Whether I'm paying a mortgage, a car note, insurance, I'm married, I have people who depend on me.
not really. You know what I can compare it to? You know how we always say like, this is 2020, right? You know how we can always say like, oh my God, like I used to feel like I loved you so much. I just couldn't possibly love you anymore. And then one day you find yourself like, oh my God, I love you so much. And whereas like you don't know what that next level feels like until you feel it. You like, wow, I thought I loved him so much. Then like I love him. So feeling that feeling of being grown is kind of like that too. Like I felt, like I was saying, I felt really grown at 27. Then I felt really grown at like 30 maybe. Then at 36 I felt, and it's not about things or what I'm doing. It's about a mental space, about where I am. So that's why I say right now I feel like I've probably felt how I feel right now. And 39 did something to me too. I don't know if it was like, wow, this is leading to 40, but this year felt like, and this is, pre-COVID and all that, I felt a sense of more relaxation mentally, where I felt extremely grown. But I feel like I'm probably going to feel this at a higher level maybe at 40, maybe at 45. I don't, but yeah, but it really doesn't have anything to do with what I'm doing or where I am. Like that, I won't say it doesn't have anything to do with it. That kind of ties in place. The more stability you have, the bigger your savings account is. That kind of adds to that sense of pride in where you are in life. My relationship with God, the more I read the Bible, those things make me feel like I'm a grown ass woman. But because I felt this at other intervals in life, like I feel, which is true, I'm today's the oldest I've ever been.
Me too.
Yes, today's the oldest I've ever been. So I've never felt as grown as I feel now. But I don't know if that feeling can go backwards. Like, God forbid something happens where, like, I lose my job or we're not together. Will I feel less grown? I don't know. Thank God our life has continued to progress and we've never regressed. So, if something was to happen, I don't know if those feelings regress as well.
Right.
But long story short, again, it's a constant evolution of being a grown woman. That's the best way to explain it. It's a constant evolution of being a grown woman.
I think for me as a man, in the beginning, it used to be the things I was doing, like paying a mortgage, car note, insurance, and I had less time in my life for non-responsible things. And then I think one day you sit and just think, I'm doing things that I wasn't doing 5 to 10 years ago. So that make you feel like you're a sense of growing. Lately,
You said a sense of what?
growing.
Oh, okay.
Lately, it's been a different mindset. I don't know whether it's being 43 or just being in your 40s, whatever age that is. But it makes you're right. It's a different headspace where I feel just older, just wiser. Like just older and wiser. So just older and wiser. So that's how that makes me feel. But this was a good conversation.
That was your
My
first.
first
I
guest.
bust your cherry.
My lovely wife. So we're gonna end it with that.